Hello and what is up, YouTube? My name is G3 Iron. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for more videos just like this one. Today we are having a short discussion on Delve and its current state in Betrayal League and what it'll look like moving forward. So this discussion is inspired by this beautiful post by Derp at Office, and it is titled on this Reddit thread, "Please GGG, Delve is fundamentally different from other league mechanics. Stop nerfing it." What we're going to do today is quickly look at this particular post and some complaints, some tweaks, some suggestions moving forward. And then we're going to take a look at the Delve ladder, both in Betrayal League as well as Standard, just to quickly give us some comparison points for how people are interacting with different Delve depths and ranking and pushing their depths presently at the current time in the current meta for Delve. So let's jump right into Derp at the Office post. He says, "Bestiary, the beast always spawns only in the zone that you're doing, so the level and possible higher tier beasts spawn according to the content that you are currently doing. The items dropped are always on the level of the zone that you are doing. Like, it won't reward you with an eye level 60 glove when you're doing maps." Obviously, because maps are higher than eye level 60 zones. "Incursion, the main rewards come from the temple, and unless you do some crazy cheese like 10 incursions in a level 60 zone and the last one on a guardian map, your temple will be at worst 1 to 2 levels lower than the highest level zone you've done." So again, the loots are about the same for the content that you are doing. Betrayal, unless you need to specifically farm for something, you progress the mechanic by doing higher and higher level stuff. The eye level dropped are also about the same level of the content that you are doing, and one of the main rewards are the Veil mods, and most of them can already drop at low level zone, and I think the +1 totems is only eye level 75 plus. The one caveat and disagreement here that I'll just have with Derp at the Office is if you're making an argument based on content and zone level and reward level and challenge level, Betrayal's probably not a good example for that because so many people are low level farming and just spamming the same zones for rewards. At least that's been the story of the Betrayal League up until Synthesis was announced. So anyway, continuing on. However, for Delve, even if you are slow to progress the Atlas, your Delve will still be miles behind in terms of monster level. You can easily get to yellow maps while the Delve zone you progressed are still level 70-ish. You also need upgrades. They fixed it early in 3.5 to make it less cancerous, but you still need to catch up. No other mechanics make you catch up. You keep progressing content and the mechanic catches up with you, not the other way around. As a result, for non-full-time players, the first month is just catching up, trying to get Delve monster level to match the maps that we are doing. We can easily kill Shaper, which I think that's a segment of a portion of the population that can easily kill Shaper. That's different than the rest of the population. But anyway, that's aside. We can easily kill Shaper, while Delve is still nowhere near monster level 80. That stands true. Even if we ignore the darkness entirely for the first month, it's the only smart thing to do. Glue yourself to the cart, never get more than 3 inches away, get down for Azerite for weeks just to let the upgrade catch up. You only actually start to progress your Delve chart after you get deep enough for mobs to be at level I-83 and also have enough upgrades to not get instantly killed by the darkness so you can actually start blowing up walls and stuff. Only at this point you are actually starting to Delve. This is totally unnecessary and boring process, especially when we've already done it 2 leagues already. Nothing exciting can happen because all the special and more rare nodes only spawn at 380 plus. You are just killing 100 Devourers for the 100th time, or you're killing 100 Ghost Bears for the 1000th time. And the same exact encounters with nothing new. It's different from maps because the map layout are different every time and mobs are different every time. Not so in Delve. The Azerite node will always spawn the same mobs. And you don't care about the loot drop because you are getting eye level 80 items in maps. You know, where you get the fuel to Delve. While in Delve, you're getting eye level 75, and you're still waiting for the upgrades to catch up to you so you can get to the side areas without the high risk of dying. And after all that, you finally start to progress. And when is the fun parts, like fights that is not a bone ghost bear, not the blue flame dragon you killed the 500th time? You have to grind for another month for stuff like Argus to start appearing. I really think it's a bad idea to introduce a, quote, endless mine and then punish people for trying to go deep. A lot of people are limited by time and sulfite instead of the content scaling hard enough so their builds can't handle it. Now, in the new league, we only get a random master, i.e. he's referencing Synthesis, the way how masters are going to work in Synthesis. Now, in the new league, Synthesis, we only get a random master 40% of the time. So, like, every 5 times you get a master, it's Nico. It's like, what, every 12.5 maps for 1 Nico spawn? It's just ultra terrible. To fix, firstly, the Scarab nerf is just unreasonable. Delve is bad enough as it is. And then they either have to skip the early Delve and just straight up let Delve start at map level with upgrades also in place, or they need to make Delve scale faster so the more interesting stuff appears earlier, or at the very least lets you catch up with monster level as you enter red maps. They can gut the reward to balance it out. Why the heck does darkness farming at level 50 give the same reward as doing depth 200? Normally is just beyond me. As it stands, it just requires way too much grind before we can actually get to the content, unlike any other league mechanics, and because of that, it can get old really fast. Okay, so he brings up a lot of good points for discussion. I don't think, just personally, and I'm going to say this loudly and clearly, so that way hopefully everybody that's commenting and interacting with the conversation can understand this. I do not endorse everything that he just said there. I'm not personally making this argument. I'm simply presenting it for our discussion. Okay? So first off, differentiate that. So if you're saying, Iron, why are you saying this? I'm not. I'm presenting a case and a discussion point for us to interact with down below in the comments. So he's clearly got some complaints. Some of them I think are valid. Some of them I think are not. Let's at least get to this one response because I thought it was funny and it was worth a laugh before we all start pounding on our keyboards too hard. The top response here, he says, I like Delve more than maps. There, I said it. After I complete 95% of the Atlas, I like to find other sources of gameplay, and Delve is pretty sweet. So free the Delve. All right. So I think that a lot of us are going to feel emotively similar to where Derp at the office is feeling. Now, regardless of whether or not we agree with his methods or with his suggestions, that might be different. And we might even come at it from a different angle where we disagree on some of the ways in which he's bringing up problems. For instance, I think that it's okay that Delve resets and that you have to rework it. We have to do that with the Atlas. We have to do that with our Masters. That is, for better or for worse, a core part of the Path of Exile experience every new league. New leagues are essentially new leagues. They're a new entity unto themselves. And so as soon as you start tinkering with what things get reset and what things don't, that really messes with the competitive balance of a league. For instance, one player could simply push way farther than another player during a league and then have a competitive advantage in racing or in terms of getting gear and in terms of progression than other characters if there was carryover in Delve, whether that's in your upgrades to your cart or whether that's reaching monster levels. So I think some of the things that he says are great and spot on. I think in terms of the feeling that once you're getting through your maps and as you're progressing through your Atlas, the Delve just sits there waiting for you to come back and interact with it. It's kind of like almost like an annoying friend that's like just sitting, hanging out, and it's like, dude, I'm about to go do something else. I literally have to be leaving in a few minutes. Kind of like Kramer from Seinfeld, if you've ever watched that. And Kramer's just like, yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to stay here. It's like, no, dude, I'm leaving my house. I need to lock up my house. And Kramer's just like, no, dude, I'm going to stay here. Right? Like that's a little bit like Delve. It's a little bit like that annoying friend that you do like hanging out with, but it's just staying there while you're progressing with the rest of your life. And until you come back and pay full attention to it, it's just going to be there hanging out, kind of like, all right, are we going to hang out or what? Anyway, so I think that's a legitimate complaint. I think that's a legitimate observation of where Delve is at the moment. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. So in terms of Betrayal and how people are interacting with Betrayal, this is just ridiculous. This is the ladder right now for Betrayal. This is the top 10 accounts right now with their classes, their levels, their XP, and their depth, their solo depth. Right now, the top Delver in Betrayal is Blink, and he's got both top spots at 6.1k depth. All right, realize when they first designed Delve, they first designed it, the design team did, to be 1,500 level depth. And then Chris Wilson, lead developer, came in and said, okay, let's double that. Well, now we are double what Chris said to double in terms of where players can beat solo. So that's incredible. First off, just to say that's incredible. And this is one of the things that I love about Path of Exile is that we players can take things that the game developers design and just utterly push it to the limits. I think that's awesome. I think it's one of the coolest aspects of Path of Exile is people taking and tinkering and messing with things. Doesn't necessarily mean that all of us have to push our builds to this level of depth, but it simply means that the availability is there within inside the structures and the mechanics of the game, within the foundations of the game, that people can tinker with things that even the designers don't anticipate or think ever will be broken. And I think that's really, really cool, where we can constantly be in relationship basically with the designers where they're constantly testing us and testing our limits of what we can mess around with, and we're constantly returning the favor and testing what we can play with and what we can mess around with. So I think that's great. So 6.1K is the lowest depth in Betrayal. You can see here it is a massive difference in between the top delver and then the rest. Coming in at number 2 essentially, but really number 3 or 4 on the ladder, is Shadow Raka. He's at 5K. Then the Secret Tizen Strat is at 4K. Then it drops off really fast down to 3K from Chosen, and then all the way down below 3K to 2,500 is Pajamas Delving. Like, it is amazing to me to look at this list and see the people who are dedicated to breaking records, dedicated to beating games, dedicated to making their livelihood through playing games at a competitive level, and to see the difference in that. Like, some people are just really, really amazingly great at this, and other people are figuring it out. Other people aren't necessarily going as hard after particular achievements as others, and I think a lot of the competitive nature of Delve and how far it can go, at least in terms of the ladder, is built on how close you are to it. I know that a lot of the times when you're racing and in race leagues, when somebody is clearly ahead of other people, it's like, you just give up at that point. So at least in terms of Delve, with as far out as Blink looks right now, it'll be fascinating to see if anybody even puts in the effort to catch up with him in Synthesis in terms of an all-time depth record, because that's just ridiculous. 6.1K. is ridiculous. But you can scroll down on the first page, which the first page details the top 20 delvers in Betrayal League, and you can see 2,200 is the lowest on the top 20. That in comparative terms, that's not that far down in comparison to the leader. I mean, the rest of us are far closer to the top 20 page than we'd like to think, but we're nowhere close to the top delve. So what does that have to do with Delve Balance, and what does that have to do with this particular thread from Derp at the Office? Well, it has a couple of things to do with it. First off, I think when we're talking about competitiveness of Delve, I think the competitive nature of Delve is fine at the spot where it's at right now. People who are going to compete for the top spot are going to do it regardless of the costs. And so right now, even though there's more announcements that it's going to feel bad inside Delve, and that the prices and the cost of acquisition for Delve Juice is going to go up, that's all fine. People who are going to compete for this are still going to compete for it. Delve has felt worse and worse since it's come out each league, just because it's harder to get the sulfite to dig, and yet people are still breaking records, right? That's the point here, to show off the ladder. Then I'm going to compare really quickly here as we wrap up with Standard. Look at the Standard ladder. Standard ladder's at 4,900 depth, 4,400 depth, 4,400 depth, 4,400, and then a massive 1,400 depth difference between iDelve Azaro to Relith down to 3,000, and then another 1,000 jump down to Ice Storm 2,000, and then Most Depth. Now, a lot of you are just going to say, well, that's because nobody in Standard cares about Delve. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody really is going to go back into Delve and play, in Standard League and really test their builds. Yet, at the same time, when Delve came out, a lot of people were talking about how far they'd be able to push their builds and how far they'd be able to compete inside Standard League, where there's all supposedly the OP gear. So many folks that have got a problem with Standard League and think, oh, there's just the OP Iron, there's just OP gear in Standard, and why would anybody want to play that? It makes the game too easy. Well, no, people are pushing the limits of the most difficult content, the rippiest content in the entire game of Delve, and they're doing that in League without a bunch of mirror tier best in slot stuff that's been available throughout the entire course of the game. So you could argue on the one hand that this is a result of power creep, right? That new items, even if they're not mirror worthy in and of themselves, are actually better than old mirror items in Standard League. That would be one argument. I think that doesn't take into consideration simply that a lot of items that have been nerfed, that were legacy items that were really, really amazing in Standard, are still available and are still really, really strong in comparison even to power creep that comes out. So I think this is just a fascinating topic for discussion for us today right here in the G3 community. So feel free to leave us a comment down below. Do you agree with Derp at the Office? Does delving feel bad for you? I know in my own experience, I have delved less and less each and every single league since Delve first came out. Now, if that's because I'm interacting more and more with other league mechanics that are coming out and that are exciting and that I want to enjoy, that can be one particular argument. It could be another argument that it is indeed harder to get Delve material. It could also be an argument that Delve and the builds required for Delve are simply different than for the rest of the game or for other goals that you might have in the game. So feel free to leave us a comment down below. with how it is that you're enjoying and interacting with Delve, and what thoughts you have for Delve moving forward, because it certainly looks like it's going to take a hit, especially with the nerf to Scarabs coming, and the nerf to their availability, and to the changes to the availability of Nico. For instance, one thing that Derp doesn't mention in his particular list of suggestions and complaints is that even when we do bump into Nico, are we guaranteed a certain number of sulfite drops from Nico? Because it feels really bad when you get only one sulfite drop from him when you are using Scarabs, especially nowadays for the price for Scarabs in Betrayal League. But what's that going to look like moving forward? Are we really going to get stuck with our dailies, and potentially are our dailies going to be less valuable with Nico? So I think there's a give and take, because I think when GGG looks at the ladders, I think they're looking and saying, okay, people can really push this really far. And yet a lot of us aren't. A lot of us are only going to a certain level of depth and then calling it quits. We're not necessarily pushing, even though the availability, the builds, and the items are out there for a lot more people to push the Delve content. So let us know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts as we discuss and interact with the topics today on Delve and Delve moving forward. Thanks, as always, for your subscriptions, as well as for our supports for all of our friends over on Patreon. We've also got a community post today that's over in the G3 channel on YouTube, where we've got a one-day link to join the Discord server. So if you'd like to join Discord, it is free today. The link is out there. It's free for anybody that wants to join. So make sure that you click on that. Check on that over on the G3 YouTube page if you'd like a direct link to the Discord server. We always have great times over there chatting about Path of Exile, Magic, and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I hope that today is the day a Mirror of Calandra drops for you while you are low-level Delve farming.